His name is Philip. He is Navajo. Facial hair, scraggly salt and pepper. Bridge of his nose smashed and crooked like a confluence of rivers. High school graduate, 3 years in the service. He lifts bent fingers from the wheelchair armrest to gesture. Soft-spoken, I move closer on the park bench. He spends his days here, listening to his radio. At night, 2 friends have a camp. It is a nice place. They have blankets. His wife was killed in '73. They were waiting for a train. There were 2 white men on the platform. Philip went to the restroom, came back to flashing lights. Men wrestled down flashing lights. His wife cut in half by the track flashing lights. It's an image you could use to build a poem around. Conversation lapses. He asks if I know who are all the people wearing the plastic tags. I tell him they are poets visiting from all over the country. Hundreds of us visiting the city where he grew up. I do not tell him how many of these poets I've heard reading poems about homelessness in the last 2 days. How many walking past him in the park have been telling me how to be kinder to my fellow man, or writing poems about what they're going to do, not what they have done. I am falling in love with southwest thunderstorms, how they charge across valleys, clouds opening up to dump down rain like words on an audience. It rained like that this morning while I practiced a poem about hope in simple pleasures, watching a man in a wheelchair pull a winter coat over his head. The brutal hypocrisy of that moment has haunted me all day, so this afternoon I grabbed my raincoat, walked 20 feet across the street, shook his hand like I would any strangers. My name is Philip. And he doesn't need a fancy Gore-Tex raincoat, but he needs it a hell of a lot more than I do. I don't tell him about this money in the pocket, my share of the Slam team's travel stipend. This act does not make me an activist or a philanthropist or any holier than any of you. It does not make Philip's story any more compelling than any other heartbreak co-opted to manipulate an audience in a poem. But I'm going to be arrogant enough to believe that it grants me license to preach to what's supposed to be the choir. And I've heard plenty of singing, but not a lot of action. From this morning's perspective, it looks like we've been sitting in a 6-story glass house writing instruction manuals on how to throw stones, while across the street, a veteran in a wheelchair huddles under a winter coat in an August downpour. And I didn't tell him about the money, so I wouldn't have to ask how he'd spend it, but I can ask you, if you could afford to buy a raincoat for somebody who needs it more than you, stand up! Stand up. I don't care if it's a $5 thrift shop cast-off. Stand up. If you're willing to give up your paid live journal account and buy a raincoat, stand up. If you can sell 10 chapbooks, stand up. And now, I want all of you to go back to the 75 communities we represent, give a raincoat to somebody who needs it more than you, and then write a poem about what you did, not what we should do. Read that poem to 500 people and set a fucking example.